Hello everybody, welcome to my book vlog. Today we're going to do something a bit unusual. I hear you're not a proper book vlogger until you can do this. I think they're known as book hauls, aren't they? Well, actually the reason why I wanted to chat to you about these 4 books is I've been going to publishers and asking for a selection of books that I think you guys would be interested in, that I'm interested in. And so as part of this, the publishers have been really supportive. This is the collection that Vintage have sent to me. Now, obviously it's going to take me a while to read these, but this is a sample of the books that they have published, going to be publishing this spring. So I wanted to share with you in advance the books that I'm reading, both to give you a heads up on the kind of books that I'll be reviewing over the next couple of months, but also because, you know, if you want to go and get these books ahead of time, or if you see them around on bookshelves or hear them chatted about in the press, well, I just want to give you an idea that these are the ones that I'm looking for and you may be interested in them too. So grab them before I do the reviews. Okay, so 4 books. Let's start from the top. I have to have my glasses on, by the way, because to read. Right, okay, so starting off with Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens. Now, most of you know that I reviewed Homo Deus, his, I think which was a follow-up to this actually, last year, and it was being a hugely popular vlog, even though I do keep saying Homo Deus in it, even though I know it's Homo Deus. You know, when you read sometimes, you don't necessarily hear a lot of people saying Homo Deus in the press or in pop culture, you know. So for some reason I kept saying Homo Deus and I duly got fried for it, so thanks. But I loved Homo Deus. I love Yuval Noah Harari's brain, and I love the way he writes. For someone who is so smart, who has such insight into the human condition and is clearly so passionate and fascinated by it, he writes like a blogger. It's accessible, it's familiar, it's intimate, it's great. And I'm really hoping that even though the size of Sapiens seems pretty intimidating, that he's going to do the same here. This is a brief overview of human history, and much like Barack Obama's quote on the back, he says it gives you a sense of perspective on how briefly we've been on the earth. And obviously the human history is about 50,000 years compared to the hundreds of millions of years that we've had on the earth. So we've done a great job in absolutely obliterating it in the time that we have here. And indeed, it is that very swift rise that is the focus of Yuval Noah Harari's book, as you can see on the back. So how the creation of fire gave us power, then farming, collective farming, the power that we could support greater populations, then the rise of money, and then the rise of science. And particularly it's the rise of science that he talks about in Homo Deus. So I'm really looking forward to Sapiens because I absolutely adored the last one that I read from him. Next up is a memoir from actress Gabourey Sidibe. Now, most of you will know her as the actress in Precious, where she was phenomenal. But Gabourey has had an extraordinary life. She was brought up in poverty in Harlem to a polyamorous father and an extraordinarily gifted mother who would raise funds for them and keep the cash going and food on the table by busking. Gabourey also suffered with debilitating depression in college, and her first ever job was as a phone sex talker. And so this follows this extraordinary and unique woman as her rise from immense poverty to immense fame and success. And apparently it's really funny. And I'm a huge fan of Gabourey. I think she's such a positive role model and such a positive person. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Next up is a collection of short stories by Tessa Hadley called Bad Dreams. Now, I read and reviewed her novel The Past last year, and I found that a bit tricky. But I'm really looking forward to this because I've got a feeling I'm going to enjoy her short stories more than her longer novel. Tessa is very skilled at creating a real dream world. There's something almost magically realistic about her world. There's something real dreamscape prose and something very romantic and not quite otherworldly of this. That's hard to sustain for a full novel, which I struggled with The Past. But I think in Bad Dreams, that world creation, that evocation is going to be really powerful. And there's certainly something very unsettling in the 4 stories that are here. So just as an example, we've got an old friend brings bad news to a dinner party. A young girl accepts a lift in a car full of strangers. 2 sisters battle over an inheritance and a baby. So really otherworldly, and I think therefore that's probably why it's called Bad Dreams. I think these are stories where reality becomes as unsettling as bad dreams. So I am really looking forward to this. And finally, a new writer, Xiaolu. Xiaolu is Once Upon a Time in the East, and it's been billed as a Wild Swans for the 21st century. Now, I adored Wild Swans, and I'm also a huge fan of Chinese writers. I really loved Madeleine Thien's Do Not Say We Have Nothing, which I've got to play. Yeah, there it is. So I'm really excited about reading this book. And Xiaolu had an extraordinary and unusual life. She was given away when she was born to a peasant family, who in turn had to leave her with her grandparents, her new grandparents, when she was 2, because she was suffering from malnutrition, because she'd just been raised on leaves. And this follows an extraordinary rise through Chinese culture and Chinese society as Xiaolu grows up, goes to Beijing University, and it's about her time in a country as an artist where obviously the state is a structure of oppression. It talks about finding love when you had no history of finding love. And also when she gets to Beijing, she gets a scholarship to go and study in Britain. So it's about that clash of cultures. And luckily it's not as big as Wild Swans, but I'm fascinated about modern China and the modern Chinese experience, and that clash between oppression and being an artist, and censorship and wanting to speak out, and the battle for the new generation as they experience democracy and free speech and freedom, and how they try to reconcile that to the country that they love. So I'm really looking forward to Xiaolu's book, and I've got a feeling this will probably be very popular this summer. So that's my books from Vintage. So stay tuned for the reviews. But of course, if you read them before I do, please get in touch and let me know.